In this lesson, we will learn about an important concept of cookies. So HTTP cookie or cookie as it is known as, what are they? So cookies are a small piece of data sent by a website to the user's browser. So whichever browser we are using, so in that browser, that data is sent by the website. So suppose I'm using Chrome to browse a site. So cookie would be a small piece of data sent by that website to the Chrome browser. The data is then stored by the browser on the user's hard drive. So if I'm browsing a site, say Gmail, so Gmail would send some data, the website gmail.com would send some data onto my Chrome browser, and that data would be stored by the browser, the Chrome browser, on my hard drive. Each time the browser requests a page from that website, the data is sent. So each time I go to gmail.com, the cookie, the small piece of data, would be sent to the server, to that website. So whenever a user goes to that website again, that small piece of data is sent to the website or the server. And because we saw that it's stored on the user's hard drive, so cookies persist, which means they maintain themselves. So they will persist when the user's browser is closed. So if I close my browser or even shut down my computer and then restart it and then open my Chrome browser again, my cookie will persist. So as long as per the code, the cookie has been kept alive, it will persist. So this is what a cookie is. Let us see how we will use cookies. So the first thing we are trying to define is a JSP page, getCookies.jsp and getCookieValues.jsp, and the objective for this page is to see if a cookie is set, to then display it, and if the cookies are not set, then to take the values from the user and set them in the cookie. So for the first thing, what do we need to do? We need to do whether the cookies are set or not. So how do we do that? And this is a standard piece of code we will use whenever we are trying to check for cookies. So let's understand this code. So the first thing to be noted here is that the JSP tag that we have used here has a exclamation mark extra. So the opening one, the closing one is the same. The opening tag has slightly changed. So why have we changed this tag? This tag has been changed because we are defining a method or a function here. So to help us define a function, we have changed the tag, and here we are defining a function getCookieValue, which takes two parameters, an array of cookie and the name of the cookie we are looking for, and returns a string. So this is the function we are defining. And if you look at the function, what are we doing? We are first checking whether this array is null or not. So if this array is null, we will return null because there was no cookie that was found. If the array is not null, we are going through all the values in the array. So we are going through all the items in the array. And if the name of the cookie, if this cookie.getName matches the name that we had provided in the function call, then we will just return the value of the cookie. Otherwise, at the end of the loop, we are returning null. So what this function will do is it will return either null if the cookie was not found, or it will return the value of the cookie. And this is a very, very standard piece of code which we will keep on using. Okay. And how do we put this code? So this code can be put anywhere in the page, in our JSP page. So I would recommend that we just put it at the bottom of the page so that it does not interfere with any of our code. So we just put this code at the bottom of our page. Let's move further. So now we're defining the other parts of the same JSP page. So here we are saying cookie array CS is equal to request.getCookies. So this is how we get our cookies. So from the request, as we had studied earlier, the user's browser sends it to the server. So in the request we get it, and we are saying request.getCookies will get us the cookie array. And then if you're wanting to check for a specific cookie, how do we do it? String name is equal to getCookies, and we're given the parameter CS and the keyword for which we had given it. So this is how we get it. So this is the function we had defined earlier on the previous page. the previous screen, get cookie value. This is what we have defined with the two parameters, a cookie array and a string. And here we are calling it and getting the value in the field name. So the field name here will now contain the value or the name that we had set there. And if name is equal to null, which means this cookie was not found, that is how we're checking for it, then what should we do? We are putting a form to get the values from the user. So we're taking three values from the user: name, city and zip code, and we will get these values. And if these values, if name was not null, else what we are doing in the else, we are just doing a response.send redirect, something we had learned earlier. So we just using the page display cookies.jsp, and we are redirecting ourselves to that page so that we can now display the cookies. So we're checking for the cookie. If the cookie was not found, if the cookie was null, we are putting up a form to ask inputs from the user. And if the cookie was found, we're just doing a redirect to display cookies.jsp. Now here in the form we are saying we're doing an action, so we're posting it to get cookie values underscore 1.jsp. So let us see what do we do there. So this is get cookie values underscore 1.jsp, which we had defined in that form. So what are we doing in the form? We are from the request.get parameter, the three input values, we are taking them and storing them in strings. Then we are creating cookie. So this is the interesting part of the code here. So we are creating a cookie C1 is equal to new cookie, and we are giving what should be the name of it or the keyword associated with it and its value. So the key and the value. So the name we have put as name and the value would be name. Similarly, city is the keyword here and whatever city the user had entered. Similarly for zip code. Now once we have created, in this case, 3 cookies. Now it depends how many cookies we want to create. So in this case we have created 3 cookies, and then how do we send them to the user's browser? So we're saying response.add cookie C1. So these cookies we are doing response.add cookie. So we're doing response.add cookie C1, then we are doing response.add cookie C2, and we're doing response.add cookie C3. And now once that we have processed them and added the cookies, we are just doing a response.send redirect display cookies.jsp. So this is our JSP page we are trying to define to display the cookies. Now that we have processed the form and we have set the cookies, we are just redirecting ourselves to this JSP page. Now what do we do in this JSP page? The first thing we are doing is we are defining a function to get our cookie value. So this is exactly the same function we had defined earlier. So get cookie value, it's the same code, and remember the tag here we had put the exclamation mark because we're defining a function or a method here, and we will put that in display cookies. We did not put it in get cookie values underscore 1.jsp because we never accessed any cookie value there. We are putting it in display cookies.jsp, and like we did it in the first JSP page, we will just put it at the bottom of the JSP code. Okay. Then what are we doing here? We need to now display the cookies. So we are getting the request.get cookie, so it will return us the cookie array like we did earlier. And now we are getting all the 3 values, name, city and zip code, by calling the function get cookie values with CS and whatever is the keyword associated with it, which is name, city and zip code. Now we have the 3 values in our 3 strings and we need to display them. So now we make a simple table, and in the table we display the values of name, city and zip code. So this is how we would do it. Now let us just run this code and see how it will work and understand it a little better. So this is what I have opened on my browser, and here I am calling get cookie value.jsp. So get cookie values.jsp, I had run them earlier, so it is showing me the get cookie values. Now how do I see it? So again I will show it to you. So I have done a right click on my screen on my browser. This is my Chrome browser, and I go to inspect. Once I go to inspect, I go to application. I click on application, and here you can see I am seeing cookies, and I can find out my local host. and I am seeing 3 cookies set here, 4 cookies set here. Session ID, JSession ID, city, name and zip code. These were the 3 cookies we are setting here. Let me delete them. So I'm pressing the delete key and I have deleted all my cookies. Now let me go here and run our first screen, which was get cookie value.jsp. Now because there was no cookie set here, so it has given me the form. So let us put in some form values. So let's say the name is Ryan Smith. The city I want to put in is say New York. And let's say I will put a New York zip code. And now we're doing set values. Now once we do set values, we are seeing the display cookies. Now let us look at the values the cookie has. So city has the name New York, which is what we had said here. Name has Ryan Smith and zip code has NY10036. So now if I go back and just try and run get cookie value.jsp again, this time I am getting my display cookies. And now if I just, like we started and deleted them, I have deleted all my cookies. Now if I go and get cookie value, it will give me a form. So now this is how we use cookies, and this is a very, very important concept in JSP.